Hey guys, welcome to Becca Scoops Live on Friday night. I hope you guys are having a great Friday, great week. I've been watching the chat. I'm so happy to see all of you guys here. I have a special, live stream for you guys. I have been doing some more deep diving and discovered some things, and I'm like, wow, this makes a lot more sense now. There's certain things about this case probably for all of you, whether you're new here or you've been here for almost 2 years now, that really stick with you. And for some of us, it's different things. And for me, it's always been a couple of things. One is the motive, right? The motive. And the other thing is the wheelchair, because a lot of people can't get past the wheelchair. Even if they find out about the micro deletion, they are like, but why was she in the wheelchair? And some of us have made some excuses for that. I'm going to get into that, but I think I found something over the last couple of days that's going to make a lot more sense to the story, that's going to kind of fill in the gaps that for me just have always made me uncomfortable talking about it. But before we get all to that, let me go ahead and do a couple of housekeeping things here first. Let me get your comments up for the replay crew. So everyone, yep, there we go. There we go. We are there. We are ready to roll. And also what I want to do is, besides welcoming all of you here to this live stream, hey, Susan and Tawny, Estiana, Christy, Anne Fran, all of my mods, SB, Mersey, me, thank you for being here. Especially to my mods, thank you guys so much. I know it's a real job. It's a real job handling the chat, so I really appreciate that. But before we get to the main part of this live stream, in my last video, I did touch on something that happened in our community, and that was one of our favorite people, Dank Harley Quinn. Here she is, and here's another pic of her. As many of you know, she suddenly passed away. It was not expected at all, and that was kind of a trauma, especially for those of you who were close to her. I knew of her, like I said in my last video. I sat on a few panels with her, and I always found her delightful. Of course, that infectious laugh that I'll never forget. It would make me laugh out loud, whether I'm listening to her being on a panel, and she was always so supportive. She was just a lovely, lovely human being, and she will be greatly missed, not only by me but by so many of you out there. So I promised a few of you that I would get a few things about her. Very small tribute. I know you guys have been over on TikTok a lot talking about her over the last few days, but I wanted to mark her passing here on my live stream also. I think it's important. So I found a few things from her own TikTok. Let's just sit back, kind of like take these videos in. I have a few videos that she shared. One was of her 2025, that's a TikTok video. I can't play the music that she has in the background, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is just play some other music while we take a look at some of this stuff. So here we go. So there's that one. Now, a couple of these she did TikTok battles, which I didn't know. And one of these I'm going to play next is her coming from behind, and it's exciting and it's fun. It's a good memory to watch this one. They're coming from behind. It's a win in this battle in the end. And here we go. You can see she's losing there. See, she's losing. But watch what happens at the end and watch her reaction. It's fun. Right there. That was fun. And I got one more, another one of her doing a battle. Let's go ahead and change the music on this one because this kind of needs some. She's so happy, like she's getting all these gifts from her friends, of course. And she won that one too. So that just wanted to do that just for you guys, that just a little reminder of who she was, her fun times. I know you guys have cherished memories of her. She won't be forgotten. And she definitely was, from listening to some of you, and of course I listened to her too, that she definitely was justice for Dee Dee. That was in her heart. And so that's what we'll keep doing what we're doing here. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get into this because this is pretty exciting. This is pretty exciting stuff. What I'm going to bring up now. What I do, or what detectives do, not me, detectives a lot of the time, even lawyers do, when lawyers take depositions. Well, why do they take depositions? Why? Well, number one, they want to see what the witness is going to say before they get to trial, right? But they also want to pin witnesses down to statements, right? So then when they get on the stand, if they say something different, oh, they got them, right? They say something different on the stand and they bring out the deposition and they go, in this deposition, that was a sworn statement. Did you not say blah, 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 right? Now, detectives kind of do it in a different way. They'll get people in an interrogation room, right? And sometimes they'll do multiple interrogations, trying to catch them in lies, trying to catch them in inconsistencies. Because as we know, the truth is the truth. You don't forget the truth. The truth doesn't change. Now, memories can falter, right? But the truth, when you're thinking of an event, it doesn't change. You can tell a, short portion of an event, and they may say in a later interrogation or interview, can you expand on that? So you expand, but the gist of the story remains the same, even if you're adding on details, right? And so I was thinking the other day, you know what? Gypsy has given so many interviews. She's right. She's got all these documentaries out there discussing basically her story, her narrative, right? And I wanted to go look and see, I wonder if her story has changed a lot. Now, I know a lot of us know all the different kinds of lies that she's been caught in, and some lies are just lies to lie about things. But what I'm talking about are the lies that go to the heart of this case, the lies that will make a difference with other people that are starting to learn about this case, the lies that if there was ever some kind of a new documentary made about this case, that you would want to see these inconsistencies are the ones that would matter the most, right? Not just little lies. I'm talking about lies that go to the heart of the case. That would be the wheelchair to me. Okay. And the motive. Why did you do it? Has she told consistent stories about those things? And the answer, the quick answer is no. But now we're going to go in depth because I found something about the wheelchair that well, let's just get into it. Okay. And now I think I have a very clear understanding of how she got in the wheelchair, why she got in the wheelchair, and where she's lying about it. Now, the first thing we're going to do and look at different interviews here, but we're going to start with Dr. Phil. Most of you know she did this Dr. Phil interview. Most of us don't believe Dr. Phil did a great job at it. It doesn't matter. She's on the record in that interview, right? Recounting her story. So we're going to start there. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. And then I'll be, like I do, pausing momentarily to talk about that. I want to get this done right now. I'm going to do this for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to comments. Usually I go to comments first, but I want to get this part done so that when I go to your comments, if you guys have questions about that, then I'll see them. Okay. I hope that makes sense. All right. Here's the beginning of the interview, and we're going to start here.
Reason she would force me to be in a wheelchair.
She would force me to be in the wheelchair. Okay. That I'm telling you, this is the key. This is what a lot of people have issues with. Okay. This story, this notion, she was forced. And we know those of you that have been around for a while, we know about the video where she talks about how, look, I lied to my mother and all of that, right? But I'm telling you, there are psychologists that will come in back of that and say, because what she's also said about that is like, well, I was being emotionally abused, and so of course I couldn't tell my mother. Okay, so we got to knock this lie completely out of the water. We have got to show how she's lied about this, and and I'm going to show it today. So that's what we're here for. Well, I thought and then the second thing I'm talking about here is the motive. And here she says, I just wanted that life to stop, right? Not, I feared for my life. I feared for my life is what she says in the memoir, right? She feared for her life is why they gave her the plea deal, by the way. Listen to what Rod says here. Listen to what Rod says here, because I think he is telling the truth here. He's going to relate what Dee Dee told him, okay? And when I heard this, after I found out everything I'm going to show you, this makes sense to me, what he says.
Dee Dee about it, and I'm like, she can walk or not? She's been in a wheelchair all her life. And, the answer I got from Dee Dee was, she had a disease she was diagnosed with, and it was going to progressively get worse. And eventually she was going to be bound to the wheelchair all the time.
Okay. Does that mean she can't walk? No. She had a disease. It was progressively going to get worse, and she wouldn't be able to walk at some point. The points here are, Dee Dee didn't say, yeah, she can't get up out of that wheelchair. Dee Dee didn't say, right, that she's paralyzed from the waist down. Dee Dee was telling him, yeah, she can get up and walk from the wheelchair, but she's got this disorder and it's affecting her neurologically. It's affecting her the way she walks. That's what Dee Dee told him. And when I show you what I'm going to show you, it's going to make sense that Dee Dee wasn't trying to really keep her in this wheelchair. And I used to believe that, especially in the very, very beginning, when I didn't know about the microdeletion and all that. I still, didn't think Dee Dee had Munchausen, but I was like, well, I guess they are pulling these scams and she had to sit in the wheelchair. And it takes a lot for me to not believe that. Okay. I have to see a lot of facts before I don't believe something. And now I'm starting, I think that a lot of this was made up after Dee Dee died. This forcing her to be in the wheelchair story. Okay.
Wheelchair? No, sir. I never asked that.
Okay. I'm going to stop this here because now we're going to go to some different clips. Okay. It's going to all make sense in a few minutes here. We're going to go to some different clips here. Let's take a look at this one. Hold on. I got to back it up.
time with my grandpa. And when I was like 5 years old,
When I was 5 years old, I got into a motorcycle accident. Now, note the age is 5 now. Now she's 5 in this story. With Dr. Phil, he said, when you were 7, you got into this motorcycle accident. She's like, right, okay.
remember getting in my
I want you guys to see this knee brace on her right knee. This is going to become very important with what I'm going to show you. Knee brace, right knee, right? We all see that. Okay. I don't know how old she looks there, but I'm going to tell you how old she was because I figured out what happened here. And this has nothing to do with a motorcycle accident. This picture has absolutely nothing to do with a motorcycle accident. Okay. And I'll prove it to you in a minute.
leg was put in a brace.
Make up something we know to get her out of prison, to get her the plea deal, right? And so somehow this motorcycle story was born. I don't know if she was in a accident or not with her grandfather. Okay. Regardless, it has nothing to do with her being in any wheelchair. And they took a little story here and a little story there, and they said, yeah, this is what happened. Then she brought home a wheelchair. No, remember that other one, Gypsy says, first I had a walker, right? Okay, these are all important things in trying to figure out the truth amongst all these lies. Okay, so there's that clip. All right. So I started to look at the medical records again because I remembered something. I remembered a few things, right, about Gypsy and issues like having MRIs done. And I remember in one of and this is back in Tulane, so this is in Louisiana before, obviously around this time, where I remembered, oh yeah, wasn't there something where it said she was in an MVA, 9-year-old in an MVA, right knee pain, and they worked her up for that. And I always just assumed that was the motorcycle accident. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, MVA. Oh, sorry, MVA for like when you're a nurse or a doctor or whatever, or I think even a cop, is motor vehicle accident. It's short for motor vehicle accident. Okay. And I was thinking, well, would I write MVA if it was a motorcycle, or would I write? Well, I mean, technically, it's a motor vehicle, right? It's motorized. But I just kept thinking, something's off. Something's off about this story. And so then I decided, well, let me go back and look around that time. And remember, we don't have all the medical records. Let me go and see if I can find other testing that was done, because I also remembered that there was something about bilateral leg weakness in having these MRIs, but I hadn't looked at the medical records for a long time. Anyways, long story short, I go back in and I start combing over these medical records again. And I go, oh, okay, this has nothing to do with a motorcycle accident. It has everything to do with her microdeletion. And before I get to the results of that, I want to share with you something I found on a TikTok person had shared this story. So I can't take credit for finding this story, but it does tie in really well here when we're thinking about what Dee Dee had to go through, not knowing what was wrong with Gypsy, right? And so let me show you guys this. This is about another little girl who was diagnosed with the same kind of microdeletion as Gypsy. Okay. And so let me just read this to you because this is really great information. It says, Iris is now 3 years old. She was born at 37 weeks and weighed under 5 pounds. Now remember, this little girl has the same exact microdeletion as Gypsy. From the beginning, she had trouble with feeding and weight gain. Who does that sound like, guys? Doctors did not seem to believe us. Doctors did not seem to believe us when we said she threw up all the time despite medicine and diet changes. They treated us like we were looking for attention. What? mean like Dee Dee, like Munchausen. They treated us like we were looking for attention whenever we brought Iris into the doctor's office. It wasn't until she was at her 9-month well baby visit that we finally saw the main doctor at the practice, a man with a very good reputation. He took one look at my baby and declared that she needed to see a list of specialists immediately: neurology, gastroenterology, audiolaryngology, kidney specialists, feeding therapists, developmental pediatricians, eye and hearing exams, MRI, and genetics. He said he wasn't sure what was going on with her, but that it was over his head and he wished he'd seen her sooner. Iris attended all those appointments and more in the next year. She was diagnosed with microcephaly, just like Gypsy, exactly like Gypsy. Severe GERD, that's GERD is the gastro, the acid coming up into this from the stomach up into the esophageal area, right? Exactly what Gypsy had. Gypsy was also diagnosed with GERD. They go on. She's on a feeding tube now and growing like a weed. Developmental delay, vision issues, coordination and gait issues. That's walking issues. A minor kidney problem, and a lot of very mild things as well. Genetics finally got a hold of her. And when she was then diagnosed with 1Q2 1.1 micro deletion, all of her conditions are considered to be caused by the deletion. Unfortunately, there is really not much information for parents, patients, caregivers, or doctors about this condition. Today, at age 3, Iris is walking pretty well. She's learning ASL, and we're waiting to see if she'll give us that first word. She's getting all of her nutrition through a feeding tube, but that doesn't faze her even a little. She goes to a special reverse mainstream preschool 3 days a week and even rides the bus there with the help of her aides. She's happy almost always and the light of our lives. Now, what's my point here? Well, I'm sure you guys can take away kind of what my point is here, but the broader point is, of course, this is recent, okay? Think about Dee Dee trying to handle Gypsy when they didn't even know that it existed, that her condition even existed. And these people were having problems with doctors thinking they were attention seeking, kind of like what Dee Dee was accused of, right? And we're going to, as we go forward with what I'm going to lay out here to you, what I now believe exactly happened to Gypsy and how she got into that wheelchair, and had nothing to do with Dee Dee trying to pull a con. Despite some of the things in the medical records, and I will get into that in a minute also, because I tell you everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not trying to paint Dee Dee as a saint, by the way, but I'm trying to just bring the whole truth. And now when you see this little girl and also I have to say that the microdeletion that Gypsy has, it's true that depending on where the deletion is at, it can vary. Like you can be diagnosed with that same microdeletion and not have the same symptoms as Gypsy, right? It just varies on where the deletion exactly is on the chromosome. Okay. So, and I'm not a geneticist, so I can't explain any more to you than that. All right. But I know that. And so, but what was very interesting about this little girl is that it sounds like her conditions really mimic Gypsy's, the feeding issues especially, right? And, possibly the gait issues. They talked about the gait, the walking issues. And I want to tell you that these walking issues can get better over time. So it's something that, yes, as they get older, some of these issues can resolve themselves. But this little girl had coordination and gait issues. And remember the video of Gypsy. And if you're new here, you won't remember this, but I'm going to describe it briefly. You guys do remember it that have been here for a while. The video of Gypsy in her cheerleading outfit. She's like 4, maybe 5. I mean, very small, right? Still has the blonde hair, got the really cute cheerleading outfit on, and she flops on the ground while the other girls are doing the little cheers and stuff, right? And I always found that so odd. I'm like, what is she doing? Because kids love to do the right thing at that age, right? They like to mimic the other kids, and you understand what I'm saying. And for her to just plop on the ground like that and just kind of like, I'm like, what is going on with her? Is this behavioral? Is this physical? Or is it both? Is she tired? Is her muscles tired? What's going on here? And I really didn't think it was physical. I'm like, this has got to be totally 100% behavioral. Well, now I think it was both. I think it was both now with what I found, which I'm going to show you in a minute. I have to build up to it so, to understand it. Okay. So there's little Iris having the same issues as Gypsy. Also, the parents having the same issues as Dee Dee, being accused of, well, they weren't accused of Munchausen by proxy, obviously, but sounds like it was starting to get there. Attention-seeking behavior, right? That's the hallmark of Munchausen by proxy. Okay. So just want to check in with you guys in chat. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to go on with this, and then I'm going to get to your comments in 1 minute. Okay. So, all right. So that is what Gypsy said. So this motorcycle thing, right? Okay. Well, let's take a look at what Gypsy told in her latest interview. Now we're going to go to the part of Gypsy in her interview she had about 3 weeks ago, I think, on that We Need to Talk podcast. A lot of you have seen it. Let's take a listen to what Gypsy said about how she ended up in the wheelchair in that interview.
And so my mom just thought it would be best for us to leave. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald House in New Orleans for a few months, actually.
Okay. And for everyone who is not familiar with the Ronald McDonald House, can you explain it?
So the Ronald McDonald House is essentially a lodging home for children and their families while the children are going through their doctor's appointments. It's a place for them to stay near the hospital. And it's at a short fee. So I think it was like $5 a night for us, I believe. So it's crazy to say that the Ronald McDonald House was kind of like, okay, that was my next home because we stayed there so much. But then my mom found Section 8 housing, and that's where we lived from there. I feel like the constant arguments between her and her father, then learning of my abuse, just kind of all spiraled her more and more into this darker place.
Okay.
At around the age of 8 or so, went into the hospital for actually, I can't even remember what it was for, but I did a long time in the hospital. It was like a 6-month stint in the hospital.
Okay.
Okay. Now I can't believe she was in the hospital for 6 months. I don't know why she lies about certain things. Like I said, there's lies and then there's lies, right? No, people do not stay in an acute care hospital for 6 months. This is when she was in the feeding hospital. You guys know I've talked about this a lot. And the typical stay for the feeding hospital is 1 month. 2 to 4 weeks is the approximate stay. You guys know, especially if you're living in the States, that to stay in the hospital, even if after you have a baby for any amount of days, it's not going to happen, right? They want you out of there. Insurance wants you out of there, even if it's the government assistant, Medicare, Medicaid. They do not going to keep you in the hospital. You know how much that would cost? Being in an acute care hospital I've never seen it. I have never seen it. Okay. The longest is a couple months, and that was up in the ICU. And we had insurances, every day. When are you discharging? When are you discharging? When are you discharging? Right. It's very expensive to stay, especially in an American hospital. So this 6-month story doesn't pass the smell test. Regardless, that's not what the most important thing is that she's going to talk about in this little clip.
And that's when they put the feeding tube in.
And you can't recall how you got to the hospital.
My mom drove us, but I don't remember what the initial appointment was for.
Okay. But you ended up then going in for 6 months, which, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And you were given a feeding tube, and then you were placed in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so the wheelchair.
Okay. And then you were placed in a wheelchair. Well, what have we heard on 2 different clips, 2 different times? It was the motorcycle accident, right? The motorcycle accident triggered her mom to start this con in the wheelchair, right? Let's listen to what she says now.
Here happened. There's so many different stories that my mom told different people. So the initial story that my mom told to family was, I went into the hospital. Then upon having surgery, I had a seizure on the operating room table.
Okay, wait a minute. Now, we know by the time she does this interview, right, she's already knows that the video, the FOIA video of her telling Nick about this has come out, right? So now we have discarded the motorcycle story. It doesn't seem to be here now, does it? I'm just saying, okay? And my main objective here is to really figure out how she got in the wheelchair, right? Not just catch her in lies, which is very easy to catch Gypsy in lies. It's not, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, let's just say that. But to really figure out how this wheelchair came about. Was it Dee Dee? Did Dee Dee get triggered by some motorcycle accident? And what was that brace? Remember the brace that Gypsy was wearing on her leg? We are going to get back to that, but let's go ahead and continue to listen to how Gypsy now kind of in present day, right? Now that all the FOIAs are out, how she describes getting in the wheelchair. She said, what? There's so many stories. She's kind of like, covering her ass here. There's so many stories out there. No, what's the truth though, Gypsy? We don't want the stories. We want the truth. What happened? How did you get into the wheelchair? Right? Okay.
Initial story that my mom told to family was, I went into the hospital. Then upon having surgery, I had a seizure on the operating room table that left me paralyzed. That was the first story.
Okay.
So, of course, growing up, that's what I thought. I knew that I could.
Wait a minute. Of course, growing up, that's what I thought. What about the motorcycle? What this Mommy, Dad, and Dearest and all of these other documentaries and got the motorcycle. They're showing pictures of her with her grandfather on the motorcycle. And now, I don't know how I missed this the first time I saw this interview. I don't know how I missed this whole thing, but now I'm like, when I started to go back and watch this, I'm like, wait a minute. Obviously, and that's what triggered me to do a deep dive, because I'm like, obviously, something about how she really got in the wheelchair, she doesn't want us to know about. And so now, I mean, it's wild.
Walk. I just want to make that clear. I knew that I could walk. So then she goes on to tell other people, well, she was paralyzed, and doctors, mind you, tell doctors that I was paralyzed since birth.
Oh, well.
Even though there's pictures and there's family.
Okay, what is she talking about? Because I tell you the truth on everything. There is one nurse's note. This is true. Does this mean it came from Dee Dee's mouth? I don't think so. I think, no, probably not. I can't prove it one way or the another. But see her little smirk there. It's one nurse's note. And I'm telling you, as a former nurse, when you're like taking a history and physical, you're just doing it. It's kind of like mind numbing. You're not, there's a lot of mistakes that can get made, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so in one nurse's note, the nurse writes quadriplegic, which is someone that's paralyzed from the neck down, quadriplegia. Obviously, the nurse made a mistake. Gypsy's sitting there in front of her and can move her arms and can move, right? But Gypsy wants to lay this on her mother. Gypsy's trying to say, yeah, my mom used to say I was, a paraplegic or quadriplegic, diversion, folks.
And there's all these people that had seen me grow up walking.
Right. Right. So then what I believe is hard to understand is how do doctors then believe her enough to give you the feeding tube, to give you the wheelchair? How were they fooled?
My mom had a very, her personality was sweet. To the untrained eye, I guess you can say, she had a very welcoming presence. Everybody, it was like that classic Southern mom. Hi, sweetie, darling, sugar plum, all that.
Yes.
I don't care how charismatic Dee Dee was. Now, are there real cases of Munchausen by proxy? Well, obviously, yes. Have some of these Munchausen people been able to get feeding tubes inserted? Yeah, that's kind of like a common thing with the Munchausen thing, right? And I've showed you about that Olivia Gant case. If you don't remember, a little girl named Olivia Gant, mother definitely had Munchausen. She passed away because her mother had Munchausen and did medically abuse her. But I don't know how she went to, like, I think they were in Colorado, and then she took Olivia to Boston where she got this feeding tube place. So she talk about doctor shopping, right? And these tests that Olivia had, the same test that Gypsy had, Olivia passed the swallow study test. Okay. Where Gypsy did not pass those tests, and Gypsy was in this feeding hospital for a month. So no, Dee Dee didn't talk anybody into anything. But if you don't know all that and you're just listening to this, and you know about that there are real cases of Munchausen, you may believe Gypsy like this guy did. He believed her, right? But that's not what happened. And the feeding tube has been completely blown out of the water. There's no doubt she needed it medically. There's no way. That's not even a question mark anymore, because we do have the medical records to back that up. But the wheelchair has always been the mystery, okay? Has always been that kind of like, yeah, but what about the wheelchair? When you talk to people, when you're talking to people and you're trying to really, show them, hey, Dee Dee didn't have Munchausen, and it's hard with the wheelchair a lot. Well, not after tonight, it's not going to be.
And there was one doctor in particular that she honestly, I think, in my opinion, buttered up. She would buy him gifts. He would come and visit us at the Ronald McDonald House.
Okay.
There was this sort of friendship that I don't feel is professional. You shouldn't have friendships with your.
So because they were friends, the doctor put a feeding tube in you? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense, guys.
Patients.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see it. And so because of her charisma, right, she was able to, sounds like, dupe these doctors.
You know what? For being such a good con woman, they sure didn't live like in the lap of luxury. Just saying. If she was so good that she could talk a team of specialists to putting in a feeding tube when there was no indication that Gypsy needed one, basically, is what Gypsy's trying to tell us. I mean, why wasn't Dee Dee why wasn't she rich? Why wasn't she scamming like everybody for everything? Why were they living paycheck to paycheck?
Was there ever a moment where a doctor said no and told her no?
Yes, there was. And this brings us to quite a pivotal moment. There was a doctor, his name was Dr. Flashenstein, or Flasherstein, however you want to kind of say it. And he examined me. He was a neurologist. Pretty sure he's retired now, but he asked me to stand up in his doctor's office. Now, I learned this on a documentary.
What do you mean you learned it on a documentary? This is another lie, and I'm going to show you it's a lie. And this goes to the heart of the wheelchair, right? Okay, because now we're talking about her standing up in front of this doctor.
Documentary about myself. I'm learning things about my own life in a documentary.
Look at that.
And the rough part for me is, I have a therapist.
Excuse me, when you stood up in front of Dr. Flasterstein, I mean, it was 2007. So you were like 15, 16 years old. You don't remember that? You learned it on a documentary? Or is that the truth? Or what did she tell Dr. Phil about that? We're going to find out what she told Dr. Phil about that, because my point is there's so many inconsistencies surrounding the wheelchair story that it's a lie. right? You know it's a lie. This is kind of how detectives work, right? When they're, got somebody in an interrogation room and they keep coming back in asking the same questions about the same situation over and over, and all of a sudden the answers aren't the same. Why aren't the answers the same? Because these are lies. That's why. It's like the telltale sign. Somebody's lying about something if the story continuously changes. What happened to the motorcycle? What is that right brace? Where did that come from? Obviously, she was in some kind of an accident, right? Or she had some kind of an injury. She's wearing that right brace on her knee. Okay? Remember that, because we will get to that.
And for a long time after watching the documentary, I'm like, he's lying. I don't remember that. I never remember him asking me to stand.
Okay, so now she's saying in 2026 that she didn't remember Dr. Flasterstein, he's a neurologist, asking her to stand up. She's saying that, right? She's saying that in 2026. I didn't remember that. Just wait till we get back to Dr. Phil.
And then a few months ago, I was laying in bed and I feel like I have two memories. And I
Really?
don't know which one's real, but I think I maybe do recall him asking me to stand up. And I don't know if it was blocking that memory, but now I'm kind of like, oh my God, maybe he did.
Yes.
And I think I did stand up.
Oh.
And he told my mom, point blank, there's no reason why she can't walk. She can walk, she's fine. And my mom left. We never went to see that doctor again.
A lie.
But that doctor had put in the medical records, in his notes from that day, suspicion of mother with Munchausen by proxy.
Just like little Iris's parents were being called attention seeking, right? Now, Dr. Flasterstein, we're going to hear his version of this story. We're also going to hear Gypsy's version when she was with Dr. Phil, which is a completely different story about remembering the standing up. Okay. And it's wild. It's wild. So let me go back. Let me go over to that. I am going to get to your comments. I just really want to get to this stuff. Okay. Promise you guys, we'll get to your comments. That's why we do a live, so I can interact. We can, right? Because I want, if you guys have questions. Okay. All right. Let me go back to Dr. Phil before I get to Flasterstein. Flasterstein is the guy she stood up in front of, right? No, wait, let's go to, did I do this? Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, I did that one. Okay, let's go back over here. This is going to come into play. I have a timeline that's going to be coming up about these different tests that are going to tie in and explain why she was in the wheelchair.
Muscular dystrophy is a very painful procedure.
I still have the scar.
Yeah, they strip muscle from your thigh, right?
It came back normal.
Why did they do that test? Because they knew Gypsy had a chromosomal issue. They didn't know what it was. Muscular dystrophy is a chromosomal disorder issue. Okay. So they were looking. It's what doctors do. They start doing a lot of tests. Well, we know she's got the microcephaly. We know she's got something with her genetics that isn't quite right. They knew that when she was born. We knew she's got the sleep apnea when she was like 3 months old. That was a real thing. Her grandfather remembers the alarm going off. Okay. So they're looking for things. So they do. It wasn't Dee Dee telling them to go do a muscle biopsy to rule out muscular dystrophy. Was the test negative? Yeah, she didn't. That wasn't what was wrong with her. Okay. But they were looking. That's how you figure out what's wrong with somebody. Okay. But all of these tests and everything became nefarious because, well, Gypsy was 100% healthy. So why was her mom pushing for these tests? Dee Dee wasn't even a pusher. There's nowhere. And I'm telling you, as a former nurse, when you have a parent that's acting real pushy, you put it in the nursing notes. There was nothing in any nursing note, nothing about Dee Dee except mother is happy, mother is cooperative, mother agrees with plan of care. There's nowhere. And I was looking for it. I looked for it. Okay. Because I wanted to find out what's the truth. No.
And she knew that.
I think that she did know that. If a doctor wouldn't give her the results that she wanted or say what she wanted them to.
Bernardo Flaster.
Okay. Now listen to what Gypsy says here. Okay. Now remember, Gypsy didn't remember this, right? She didn't remember. She just had it in that one interview I just showed you. She just had a dream recently. This is a couple weeks ago. She did this interview where she thinks she remembers standing up, right? This is what she said just a few weeks ago, that she thinks she remembers standing up for this doctor, but she can't be quite sure about it, right? Okay. Let's hear what she says here.
Clips is some medical record where Dee Dee essentially lied to the doctor about something.
Flasterstein wrote, "This mother is..."
Okay, I want to go back just a minute.
And I think that gave him the inkling that this girl could walk. She would switch to a different doctor.
Gypsy has essentially fallen through every crack there is in the system.
Everyone failed her, literally. The doctors.
At this point.
She was inside the room
With you?
with me. He kind of held my hands, and I put some weight on my legs. And I think that gave him the inkling that this girl could walk. This girl is not paralyzed. She has muscle strength.
And how did your mother react to that?
She did not like him whatsoever.
This whole thing, I believe she did stand up. And I don't believe Dee Dee got mad, because I don't think it was ever that Gypsy was fully paralyzed. Okay. Obviously she wasn't. So Dee Dee didn't get mad. Dee Dee didn't. Now the doctor is going to talk about this event also. He's going to describe this event also. Okay. And he's going to say something about Dee Dee, but I'm going to rebut what he says based on what we see about little Iris and her parents, and how they were so frustrated. Parents get frustrated when you can't figure out what's wrong with their kid, right? And I think people in this Flasterstein was one that was looking sideways at Dee Dee. He did. He was the one that wrote possible Munchausen by proxy, right? And so I would be offended. I would be offended if I'm this long-suffering parent with this child, and she's very ill. She's been very ill growing up, on and off. I'm not saying Gypsy was on death's door or anything. She wasn't. But they couldn't figure out what was wrong, especially with her feeding. That was really severe. That was super severe. The feeding problems were very severe with Gypsy at around 7, 8, 9 years old. Okay. That was probably the worst thing about Gypsy's microdeletion that really put her very serious. Okay. That was the serious part. Okay. But I do think she had gait problems. I think that why am I saying that? Okay. Look, I'm not a geneticist, but the little Iris, why that case study is so important is because it sounds very similar to Gypsy. What I am offering to you guys is that, and I would have to get like a geneticist. We'd have to get a geneticist to look at Gypsy's actual microdeletion, where it falls, and if we could find out exactly where Iris's falls. But based on Iris's symptoms, it sounds almost identical to Gypsy's. Okay, very similar. The same issues, right? And so Iris had these coordination and gait problems, and that's what started me down this rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe Gypsy ended up in the wheelchair. Maybe all of these stories about this motorcycle accident and all of this, and her mother forcing her to be in there. Maybe there's another explanation for this. And that's when I went to the medical records that I'm going to share with you to kind of put a bow on this in a minute. So yeah. So now she's talking about how she stood up here and she recalls standing up for him. She recalls it, meaning, and Dee Dee was there. She's saying, my mom got so mad and we never went back. That is not true. They didn't doctor shop. Dee Dee didn't not go back. Okay. It's not true, but that's the story they want you to believe. It's a story that she needed everyone to believe so she could get out of prison. Because if people didn't believe this story, do you want to know where Gypsy would be right now? She would be in prison for another 30 years. That's how serious this was. That's how important this part of the story is for everyone to have believed. And so we can't put her back in prison. But what we can do is make sure that we can now talk in a rational way to make an argument, not just, well, Gypsy maybe she had some muscle issues with her microdeletion and that's why she was in a wheelchair. It doesn't, that explanation, guys, doesn't pass the smell test for most people. Okay. I'm just being honest. Okay. Yes, we're in a little niche community here, but if this was going to be presented to a larger audience, it would need to be presented with more sound scientific, studies backing it up, different, showing the test, showing the timeline, showing her lies about it over and over, how she's constantly changing the story around the wheelchair. The wheelchair is super important because a lot of people people are like, yeah, but her mom made her stay in that wheelchair. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, okay, even if you want to believe that, still her mom didn't need to be murdered, right? But if we could like really prove that Dee Dee wasn't forcing her to be in that wheelchair, which I could never do before this, to me, that this would just be huge. It would be huge to show people, Okay, sorry I'm talking so much about it, but I get very animated about these things, especially about this, Okay. Let's see what else she says here. And then I'm going to show you another clip of something else that's going to blow your mind.
She was like, I'm not even bringing you back to see him. I'm switching doctors.
Each one of these paper clips is
Okay, so she says that about Flasterstein, right? Okay. Now, I didn't show you that. Oh, I did. Did we do this?
Neurological conditions, and wish her the best.
Okay, so Flasterstein talks about her getting up, right? Okay, I showed you guys that. Yeah. All right. There was one other thing I wanted to show you guys before I show you the testing. Where is it? Maybe I didn't bring it in here. There's a motorcycle. Sorry, this is a live show, When Gypsy is in prison confessions, Gypsy is told by the producer, that wasn't in this clip. I got to find that clip because that clip's really important. Okay, listen to this part. Listen to this part. What is the producer is now telling Gypsy? This is the part I wanted you guys to see. All right. So now you've seen Gypsy on Dr. Phil say, I got up for Dr. Flasterstein. In fact, my mother was livid. My mother was so angry when I stood up for Dr. Flasterstein, right? Okay. Now, this interview, this prison confessions is a couple years later, right? This is from the prison confessions. Dr. Phil, I think was in 2019. It was in 2019. Now, this clip I'm showing you now is like 2023. Okay. I'm sorry if the sound is low. Okay. Now the producer of this prison confessions is going to ask Gypsy about Dr. Flasterstein and this incident of her standing up in front of her mother. Let's listen to what Gypsy says here.
Stand up.
I'm just saying that I know for damn sure if I would have stood up in any office, I would have had my ass chewed out. And that didn't happen.
What? Do you see? What? Now you didn't stand up? I can't make this up. I can't make it up, right? These aren't small lies. These are big lies that go to the heart of the wheelchair, of standing up in front of this doctor, right? Why is she lying about this? Why does she she tells Dr. Phil she did. Not only does she tell Dr. Phil that she did, but she says, my mom got so angry, right? And we never went back there. Okay. So now, a few years after the Dr. Phil interview, she's being interviewed by this producer of the prison confessions.
You have to have it proven that the mom is making.
Now he said now he says, okay, and I don't think he's probably lying. I think he's viewing it through his lens as a doctor who at this point is sitting for this interview, is being paid for this interview, and believes that he screwed up because Gypsy was 100% healthy. And so he says he recalls Dee Dee walking out, being upset, walking out. When he said, I told her she can walk. Now, here's something else to consider, right? How frustrated was Dee Dee at this point? And is she feeling from this doctor like he's looking at her suspiciously? I would storm out too. I would be like, F you all, okay? F you all right? So they're thinking she storms out because she's got Munchausen by proxy and she's scared she's being caught in something. Well, there's another explanation of that. She's pissed off. Okay? She's pissed off because nobody can tell her what's wrong with her daughter. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, that I can't prove that one way or the other, but I think it's a possibility, right? Especially when you think about, this other Iris's parents, same disorder. They've got doctors looking at them sideways. Are you attention seeking for your daughter? Nothing wrong with her. Yeah. Okay. So Gypsy's story about the motorcycle, about standing up in front of this doctor, changes every couple years. And that's, of course, why. Why do we feel the need to really lie about this? What is it about this that we need to lie about? What is the truth here? She knows the truth. She knows the truth about the feeding tube. You don't stay in a hospital for a month at around 8 years old and not have some recollection of it. Okay. I'm not saying you have perfect memories, but as a child at 8 years old, if you got problems swallowing, which she had severe problems swallowing around 8 years old, that you don't forget that. Okay. You don't forget. And of course, we see the remnants of that today with her tongue jetting out, with her reverse swallow. She still has a reverse swallow from her high arch palate. So we know it to be true. Okay. So what is the whole deal? And after I get past this last point, I'm going to take a break and get to your comments. Now I'm going to kind of put this all together with you, which I think happened. All right, you ready? Okay. So which one I've got a few posters here. I'll just start. It doesn't matter which one I start with. I want to guys tell you something else that happened around the so-called time of the motorcycle accident. There was a very verified accident that we can verify. And what accident was that? That is the car accident Dee Dee was in. Okay. Dee Dee was in a car accident. The motorcycle accident, we've got many ages for that. We've got 5, we got 7, and we've got 9 years old. All different ages, which tells me, I don't know about this motorcycle accident. I don't know where it came from. Is it an incident that happened, but it wasn't really a major incident? Is it an incident that's made out of whole cloth? I don't know. There's probably a little truth to it. That maybe because we've got pictures of Gypsy on the motorcycle with her grandfather, but was there a real accident where Gypsy was taken to the hospital? No, I don't think so. In fact, that picture of Gypsy in that brace is from the car accident she was in with Dee Dee in the year 2000. It had nothing to do with the motorcycle accident. Well, Becca, how do you know that? Well, I'm going to tell you how I know that. Hold on. And I'll get back to that one and I'll explain what that was in a minute. Here's the motor vehicle accident. Okay. And here is from her memoir. On the right-hand side, there is the medical record, and the date is August 23rd, the year 2000. Okay. Clinical history, 9-year-old female Status post motor vehicle accident, right knee pain. What knee? Right knee. Right knee. She went to the hospital after the car accident with Dee Dee, and Dee Dee was really bad hurt in that, as many of you know. She had pins put in her leg. Somebody, I think Christy said her leg was almost severed. I didn't see that, but I think it shattered a lot of her major leg bones, and that she had to have pins put in. There's pictures of Dee Dee in a wheelchair. So this happened where Gypsy says this, but when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my mother and I were in a car accident. But when I was around 8 or 9 years old, my mother and I were in a car accident. She was in the hospital for 2 months. Her tibia and fibula were broken, and she needed to have plates and rods and screws put in, which never resulted in the bone fusion her doctors had hoped for. Okay, now, do we take everything Gypsy says as lies or truth? So do we believe her here? Well, I have a medical record here to back up that when Gypsy was 8 years old, 9 years old, when Gypsy was 9 years old, she was in a motor vehicle accident with her mother, because here's the medical record to back it up. So no, I don't take anything Gypsy says as, the truth until I see records to back it up. We also have pictures of Dee Dee, but now we know Gypsy was in the car too. And so what I used to think was this was the motorcycle accident. No, it never was the motorcycle accident, meaning this time she goes to the hospital because the brace is on her right knee, right? And here is it being worked up, and the dates match. 8 or 9 years old, where the so-called motorcycle accident, we've got too many. I'm 5, I'm 7, I'm 8, right? It's, you can't, I don't believe it. I believe the right knee brace came from this accident that she was in with her mother. Now, what does that have to do with her being in the wheelchair? Well, nothing really per se, except if you start looking at, no, it didn't lead her to be in a wheelchair, okay? Gypsy could always walk. The problem was always with the microdeletion, which can come with these problems walking, it seems, coordination, gait problems like this other little girl had. But if you start to look at the records, a timeline, now I've deep dived into all the medical records, okay? And what did I find? Well, number one, that her feeding tube was placed around June of 2000 or before, and that's based on medical records, okay? I can't give you the exact date. We don't have the exact date, but based on medical records that we do have where they're talking about the feeding tube, it's either in June of 2000 or prior. Well, it's prior to June of 2000. Okay. So then what happens? Well, then this car accident, pretty severe car accident happens where Dee Dee, she screwed up her leg. That's the truth. And Gypsy goes to the hospital with her mom. They're both taken to the hospital on that day. And Gypsy's right knee gets a brace put on it after the car accident. So where they're showing pictures of Gypsy with this brace on her knee and calling it the motorcycle accident, and that from that motorcycle accident, that's why her mother put her in the wheelchair. It's not true. That's just a bold-faced lie. Now we know, okay? But what else happened? Why do I think Gypsy ended up in the wheelchair? Then I started to look at the other things that happened around 2000, okay? She is sent to see this doctor. Why do I have this obituary up here? Because this doctor, Carlos Garcia, who passed away in 2005, was Gypsy's doctor. for all of these scans. And I said, well, okay, he's a neurologist, but what's his specialty? So I did a deep dive on him to see what his specialty was. And it says that this Carlos Garcia, was board certified in neurology, pathology, and neuropathology. His areas of interest were neuromuscular disorders, neurogenetic disorders, hereditary neuropathologies, muscle disorders, pathology of muscle and nerve, and neurological rehabilitation. Dr. Garcia has made many contributions to the molecular genetics of inherited neuropathies, particularly Charcot-Marie tooth, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, congenital muscular dystrophy. Okay, so what is, I got to take your comments off for a minute just to explain how Gypsy ended up in the wheelchair here for a minute. This doctor specialty were all of these different dystrophies that were genetic based, chromosomal based. Gypsy was worked up by this guy, 2000, MRI brain scan, 2001, the muscle biopsy. The muscle biopsy she talks about, he does it because this guy's specialty is looking for genetic chromosomal issues in kids. Neurological genetic chromosomal issues in kids. And so he's working her up, and he's working her up like big time around 2000 and 2001. I couldn't put all the tests down, but they were all MRIs of the spine, C-spine, thoracic spine, lumbar MRI. I mean, he was looking for stuff and then did the muscle biopsy to her to rule out the muscular dystrophy. This is the same time Gypsy's in the wheelchair. What's my point? My point is why? Well, in the records that we have, because I don't have all of them, hardly any from Tulane, where this happened at, she was having bilateral muscle weakness. That was the complaint. And so I think at this point, just like with little Iris, this is when Gypsy began falling over as that cheerleader outfit, right? I think Gypsy needed the wheelchair based on that, and that this is the clue because they're working her up. They're working her up for bilateral leg weakness. At the same time, the car accident just happened to happen around that same time by coincidence. Do you understand what I'm saying by coincidence? Meaning they called it some motorcycle accident, right? But the car accident really did happen. But I think what they did was for Gypsy's for her alibi or her, to get the plea deal, it was like it became that, oh yeah, well, you had that motorcycle accident or that car accident. They don't ever use the car accident, which is, I don't know, which is kind of odd to me because really the car accident is what got her in that knee brace, right? But it's a coincidence because at the same time as that happened, actually Gypsy was having difficulty with her gait walking, is what it says in the medical records, which I never put together because I never put the timeline together like this. I just said, oh yeah, they tested her for muscular dystrophy. And then, I saw all these MRI spine, lumbar, blah, 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 blah. But what did I fail to do? I failed to go down deeper to look at who is the doctor. I didn't even notice it's the same doctor ordering all these tests. And then when I go look at who the doctor is, I'm like, oh, this guy is trying to find out why her legs won't work right. Okay. I hope that makes sense because I got a few other things I will get to, but I think we can safely say now that, Gypsy, you weren't in any motorcycle accident with your grandfather, or if you were, well, you didn't talk about it a couple weeks ago with that one guy. But you sure were in a car accident with your mom, which is kind of a coincidence because at the same time you were seeing this. That doctor's specialty, by the way, is so specialized. Do you know what I mean? This guy was he's looking for genetic chromosomal neuromuscular diseases. Basically, why, it's very specialized. And what is he ordering? He's ordering MRIs to her C-spine, lumbar, thoracic, lumbar region. It's like, oh, he's trying to figure out what's wrong with her legs. And that coincides, all of those tests coincide with her starting to use the wheelchair. She said first she had a walker. And Rod can tell you, Dee Dee never told him Gypsy was full on paralyzed. She didn't tell him that. Okay. And where I get hung up, to be frank with you guys, is when I'm reading the medical records. And I do see in the medical records where they say in the nursing notes, patient, paraplegic since birth. It says that once or twice. We know that's not true. And so I would look at that very jaded. Like, did Dee Dee tell him that? I don't know. I'm starting to think, I don't think so. I'm thinking maybe, we will never know 100%, but I was on the other side of this. I'll be quite honest with you guys, because I need hardcore proof, And I'm like, well, I think she was telling him some things that probably weren't true. And there were a few things. I'm being frank. There were a few things that I can 100% prove that Dee Dee did say, not to the doctors, but to the people, Facebook people, that wasn't completely true. Okay. There were a few things, but for Christ's sake, who is perfect? Who is, you know what I mean? We're all human beings here. We're all human beings. I would be surprised if we didn't find her, telling a tall tale here or there, right? She's a human being, but no, I don't find her to be this con woman anymore. I don't find her to be forcing Gypsy in the wheelchair anymore. I think it is something that as Gypsy got older, that she, she outgrew a little bit. She didn't need it as much. I do still think that possibly Gypsy may not be telling us, but I think she probably still might have problems walking, might still have problems getting tired. Because one of the tests did come back saying that she had, what was it, type 2 atrophy, fiber atrophy, which can be seen in a couple different ways, which is just means it could be from not using your muscles, okay? Meaning you're in a wheelchair, so you're not using your muscles, so your muscles look like they aren't being used, or it could be from the microdeletion. And it could be a little bit of both. But that wasn't like a big enough diagnosis to say, well, that's why she's in the chair. I'm like, no, that doesn't say why she's in the chair. But now that we've caught her in all of these lies, really lies around this wheelchair issue, the standing up in front of the doctor and how many times she's changed that. And why is she changing that? What doesn't she want us to know about that? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to get to some of your comments. I've got other stuff, other things that I found too. So let me go ahead and get to some of your comments here, guys. And this is our halftime point. If you guys need to take a bathroom break or get some snacks or whatever, I'm going to be reading through some of these comments and thanking some people that are here. So here we go. Wendy, you know what? Wendy Williams entered the chat. Where have you been, girlfriend? I've been looking for you. How are you? Member for 12 months. I look at that a year. What a year it's been. I love you. Love you too, Wendy. I hope you're doing well. I was thinking about you the other day. Next up, we got Rhonda, became a member. Rhonda, welcome aboard the Truth Train. I hope you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Next up, we got Sherry 57. member for 8 whole months. Sherry, thank you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And we've got Luna Faye 93, member for 6 whole months. Hey, Luna, how are you? She says, hey, Becca, hey, chat, love from Wales. Girl, are you still awake? It's got to be super late over there. I don't know. If you're going to watch, maybe she's gone now, but Luna Faye, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Next up, one of my favorites, Main Chick Carrie. Main Chick Carrie, how are you? She says, thank you, Becca. You are so appreciated. Main Chick Carrie, you are appreciated, girl. I love you. I see you all different chats. You're always so gracious. You're always so kind. So thank you for being here. And Susan became a member. Thank you, Susan. Susan is my oldest mod. So I got to thank Susan. Thank you for being here, Susan. I really appreciate it. She has been here from the beginning. Thank you, Susan. And next up, we got Harlequin PDX, one of my very favorites, $5. Rest in peace, my beautiful twin. Yeah, the dank Harley Quinn. I will wear our name proudly in your honor until we meet again. I love you forever. Oh, Harlequin. Yeah, you guys are twins. That's right. That's right. Well, my condolences, Harlequin. And, I loved her too. And I'm happy to see you here. And thank you for the $5. And thank you for that little tribute. We really appreciate it. That's very sweet. Next up, just Carl Yo, $4.99. Rip Dank. Yes, condolences and prayers to you and yours. Amen to that. Amen to that, just Carl Yo. And you also say, love and respect to Becca. Always keep up the important work. We will. And thank you for being a part of our important work. It really means a lot to us. Next up, we've got Jill B3072. Hey, Jill, member for 10 months. I appreciate your work, Becca, and the fact checking you do. Well, thank you, Jill. I appreciate you being here and supporting us so we can continue to keep this truth train rolling, because it's rolling. Let me tell you, it is, you guys. It is. Hang in there, you guys. Hang in there. I'm telling you. Next up, we've got Citizen Jinx, Citizen Gen X, and wow, Citizen Jinx. Now I used to say Citizen Jinx, right? Or Citizen Jinx. It's Citizen Gen X. I'm sorry. Hey, thank you so much. She's gifted 5 Becca Scoops memberships. That means a lot. And she is here all the time. She's one of the OG for sure to this channel. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Next up, we've got Abs Marlowe, 5 pounds across the pond, obviously. And she says, happy to catch you live, Becca, babe. Sea witches from Wales. What does that mean? Sea witches. Switches from Wales to you and Kinkins. Where's my Kinkins tonight? Where's my Kinkins tonight? She's not here. Lost a close friend recently and you're such a comfort. Oh, keep being you. I am so sorry. My sympathy to you. I know it's horrible. But I'm so glad that we could cheer you up a little bit, give you a little bit of a diversion. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for the donation. Really appreciate it. Okay. And next up, we've got Just Ashley 84. Love Just Ashley 84. She's another OG member for 7 months. You are so appreciated and loved, Becca. Well, thank you. That's so sweet of you. Thank you so much, Just Ashley 84. I see you a lot too in different chats and stuff. I see who's coming in next. It's Mighty Mulatto. He's always here. We love him. $5. Mighty Mulatto always has the most interesting things to say. Shall we say that? He says, she probably went to school up until the point she fondled up. She told this to Nick in the foyer, the other student. Oh, the school wanted accountability. Huh. Okay. Possibly. This is a good point. I've never thought of that point, Mighty Mulatto. I do also believe with you, definite behavioral issues with Gypsy growing up. And possibly one of the reasons why Dee Dee was so scared of her dating and just being around other children, right? Gypsy likes to say that her mom was trying to isolate her. I'm just wondering what she really was like as a child. We don't have a lot, we don't have any psychiatric notes about her as a child, but we do know with the microdeletion that it can come with behavioral issues. So good point. Thanks for that. I told you guys Mighty Mulatto always has something interesting to say. Next up, we've got Jill B. Getting ahead of myself with the B. 3072 coming in with Canadian dollars, $13.99. Thank you. Very generous. Keep up the good work, Becca. Dee Dee never had Munchausen by proxy. Gypsy had a form of hyptonia detected at Tulane before Katrina. Right. Her microdeletion and Stanfield tried hard to cover the true med facts. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, who knows what Stanfield knew, but I blame, it was his job to get her off. I blame the prosecutor. How could you not go through all of those medical records, get all the medical records first off, go through them, like get an expert to go through them, number one. And number two, how could you not look at all of the FOIA videos between her and Nick? Because I'm starting to believe, thanks to Carolina Girl, shout out to her, that they only looked at 4 of those videos and they weren't the 4 important ones. So thanks for that, Jill. Great points. Really appreciate it. Next up, another one of our favorites here, Snowflakes and Firefly, 819, 4 pounds, 99 pence, was looking at P152 in the medical records PDF. This was from Tulane. It said her sleep study revealed hypoventilation due to neuromuscular weakness. Great catch. Great catch. Great catch. Thank you, Snowflakes and Firefly. I will definitely be taking note of that and putting it in my, see, you read the records and then you go back and read them again. And then you find these tidbits, right? And you're like, oh, okay, right? Great catch. Next up, we've got Abs Marlowe again, 5 pounds. Screw Dee Dee having MBP. Gypsy has Munchausen. A lot of people are starting to say this, by the way, that Gypsy has Munchausen and fooled everyone, including her mother. Attention seeking from young, top narc, and then and now, what's next? Well, she's been very quiet, hasn't she? I think she's trying to get that podcast off the ground is what I think is going on. I could be wrong. I'm just spitballing here, like I say. But yeah, what's next? I think we're going to, possibly see a podcast, but what is next? And people in her life really should pay more attention to her behavior. Obviously, I would be scared. I'd be scared living with her. All right. Who is next? And thank you so much for that, Abs Marlowe. We got, Tris in Stitches 9655, who's been a member for 8 months. Thank you so much. That is so appreciated. Gypsy saying she got too much time when so many nonviolent crimes get double. Just saw nonviolent online financial theft get 15, right? You know what? She was so incredibly lucky. There are cases of people, and I've gone over them in, other videos, murdered either one parent or the other and were horrendously abused. I'm talking horrendous abuse that was validated, like had the receipts, sexual, emotional, all of it. And they still got life. One got 40 years and then possible probation. Do you understand? This is usual. That's the usual sentence for something like this. But she got lucky because her case became part of the culture. It became like the documentaries and the Hollywood part of it, right? Which I do think contributed to her getting that kind of a plea deal. Because typically, no, it doesn't. Even if you were so-called abused, like this one girl was, she didn't get out in 10 years. This other girl, she was like 40. They gave her 40 years. Murder is murder is murder. Okay. Thanks for that. And we'll do a couple more and then we'll get back to a couple other things, interesting things I want to go over. You're not going to want to miss it. Abs Marlowe again, 2 pounds. We need to talk. Yes, Gypsy, we do. Exactly. That was the name of the podcast. And we do need to talk about that performance she gave over there, right? All right, let's do a couple more. We got Real Talk with Allie, $5. Thank you so much, Real Talk with Allie. I really appreciate that. She ran away multiple times. That itself proves that Dee Dee did not need to be murdered. You know, and it's the little tidbits like that, just the common sense. It doesn't have to be deep, right? For some of these points, they don't have to be deep. She ran away twice before. Yeah, great point. Great point. All right, let's do a couple more, and then at 611 Insomniac, member for 6 months. Gypsy is never going to tell the truth. She can't. I believe that too. I believe that too. But I do believe this also. I believe this. She will be fully exposed, like publicly. Not just on TikTok, not just over here in little YouTube videos. I do believe that's coming very soon. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. All right, you guys. Funnery Girl, Canadian $6.99. Look at the wording. Her mom's failed bone fusion, which caused Dee Dee pain, led to Gypsy's pain med addiction. Wow, she blames everyone but herself. Exactly. Exactly. And you know a true narcissist, malignant narcissist, and she's a psychopath too. But you know a true narcissist when they can never, it's never their fault. Never their fault. They can never take accountability for anything, and it's never their fault. And that definitely is our Gypsy, right? All right, let's do one more. Snowflakes and Fireflies. Thank you so much for the $9.99. I found Gypsy's micro deletion page. She had, okay, yes. Thank you for this, Snowflakes and Firefly. I was looking for this and didn't get around to it, but this is true what Snowflakes and Firefly says here. She has a large 2.74 MB interstitial deletion on the 1q21.1, the segment on the long arm of the chromosome. The effects are everything that was wrong with Gypsy. Yes. And Snowflakes and Firefly, I would love to get someone that truly, like is an expert in this to look at hers. Like I said, just as you describe it here, it matters where the deletion is, how big is the deletion. I'm just talking, I don't know that much about it, obviously, but from what I've read so far about it, all of those things are very important to how it manifests in the patient. And so if someone can look at hers, because you know how she says, I'm unscathed. No, you're not. And I definitely think a real geneticist can look at hers and really tell us exactly, did she have these muscle coordination problems at around 7, 8, and 9 when she had this very important doctor, Carlos Garcia, God rest his soul, a specialist, a niche specialty. Let's call it that, a niche specialty for these neuromuscular genetic disorders. Okay. All right, we're going to end the comments there. I will get back to your comments in a couple minutes, but I want to go on. I know we're going, we still have some time. That's good, because I do have some other things I want to show you guys that I also found. And these are the things that have to do with the motive. Okay, the motive. What am I talking about? Well, let me get to it. And please give me a little grace here. I hope you guys will, because I'm going to fast forward some of this. Is it on this one? Well, let's go to this. When I talk about motive, I'm talking about, so just like I did for the wheelchair thing, we've got different interviews here now where she talks about what happened, what brought her to that point to kill her mother, right? What's the real reason? What happened? You get what I'm saying? What's the motive? Why did it have to happen? We know we've got differing stories on that too, right? Okay. Let me go back here to this. I don't think.
Some medical record where Dee Dee essentially lied to the doctor about something.
Talk to another doctor you had seen before.
And remember, children with these really, really rare conditions, and I have a video somewhere about this. A lot of parents experience the same thing, that they were accused of Munchausen, wrongly accused, even had their kids taken away. And then it's later found the kid has this rare disorder. So always keep that in mind when you hear like this stuff about this doctor accusing. And it was only one doctor, by the way, this Flasterstein, that wrote this. And it was because Gypsy got up in front of him. And he's like, well, she can stand up, what's going on with her? All of her tests are coming back. The muscle biopsy for her, muscular dystrophy came back, and she doesn't have that. And, to him, he's looking at Dee Dee sideways.
Said, I found nothing wrong with her. He writes down, Munchausen by proxy. This mother is not to be trusted.
But he also wrote in that same sentence, or there's some other kind of disease going on here that I don't know about. I'm just paraphrasing. Okay. And he did add that, which that was what happened, right?
Munchausen syndrome by proxy, also known as.
We're gonna fast forward through this because I want to get to.
He said that he was psychic and that he.
Okay, so interesting, right? Here she bypasses, okay, what she said in the video to him, right? Because we know in the video to him, right? What did he say when you told him you could walk? And of course, she's not going to divulge that story about how, you guys know it, right? I mean, I have it here real quick, just play one.
I don't even know how to get started. When I was 6 years old, I went into the hospital for like 6 months.
And notice this doesn't include a motorcycle accident. No motorcycle accident here. That motorcycle accident is bogus. It's bogus. She made it up as a way to describe how her mother put her in the chair, because the real reason is her mother didn't put her in the chair. She started having problems with coordination and walking, but she had to come up with a story. And she's like, yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident. I mean, I'm telling you, I know I couldn't see this before, right? But now when you start playing, you start taking the different interviews and you start comparing them, and you only hear the motorcycle accident, like in 2 of them, Mommy, Dad, and Dearest, like around that time. And now the motorcycle's gone in her last interview, right?
And the doctors told me that I had a seizure in surgery, and I wouldn't be able to walk, that I was paralyzed permanently. And that part, like the part.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. So interesting, right? When she relates the story to Nick, well, number one, she's going to say that she didn't tell her mom that she could walk, right? She does kind of blame it on herself, but also there's no motorcycle story. This starts when she's in the hospital. Well, she was in the hospital being worked up. Like I showed you all those MRIs, and there was a lot of them. I didn't list them all. I couldn't list them all. But that Dr. Garcia was the specialist who was trying to figure out what was wrong with her legs. That's what was going on. Okay. So whether she spent a little time in the hospital at that point or not, I don't know. But, what I'm telling you, I can't prove 100%, but I can back up my kind of thesis on this with medical records and with certain statements she makes on and off, right? Okay, so let me go back to the Dr. Phil, because we're going to get to another one of the bigger lies, of course, these are the 2 main issues that keep people from kind of coming over to our side, right? It's, well, wasn't she forced in the wheelchair? That whole thing. And then wasn't her mom wasn't her mom gonna, do something to her? Like she had to like kill her mom because her mom was doing all this medical stuff to her, right? That's the motive. And then so that's what we're gonna get into here. Of course, we know it was her. I don't know if there's some people that say, yeah, he kind of was into vampires. I never saw anything where he wrote except him pretending to be this vampire, which there was no costume, and it was a really, really weird voice, right? And it was like really not scary. It was really kind of funny, and you're like, what is going on here with this guy? She was the vampire connoisseur. She was the person that liked Twilight and all that, right? But yeah.
Or did you?
I think a part of me did believe that's silent and scary that I had, such as he called him the Black One, and he would just talk in this horrible, scary voice.
Horrible, scary voice. You guys have heard it. You guys have heard it in my guys, and it's gonna come and get you, Gypsy. I'm gonna come and get you, Gypsy.
And he would talk about how he wanted to kill me and how he wanted to rape me. He said, I will kill you so bad that they will never find your body.
But you wanted to meet him.
Dr. Phil, at least he says this. But you wanted to meet him? I mean, think about it. He was going to kill me so bad or rape me so bad. Dr. Phil goes, but you wanted to meet him? I mean, come on. It is kind of funny, right?
I did. I was in love with or thought I was in love with the good side of him. I was very, very naive back then.
Dr. Phil wanted to kill you, but you wanted to meet him and rape you. Yeah, I like the good side of him. Oh, what? Not making sense, Gypsy.
Never.
Okay. Now, she's saying this, and she doesn't know that we'll see the videos, right? So we've seen the videos. Most of you have, at least some of them, right? Of Ruby and Candy and Kitty and the outfits and the different wigs, the different personas, right? Did you catch what she said there to him? And what was Nick's personas? Did he have special outfits? Did he have different wigs, or did he have like no. He had the same voice for two characters. The same, Gypsy, I'm gonna get you over there. And if you don't do what I say, Gypsy, I'm gonna okay. And then he would go into there was Sir Black and Victor. And then the Victor voice. And if I don't get you, Gypsy, it's the same. Look, okay. You guys know what I'm saying here. All right. But Gypsy tells Dr. Phil, I was having to play along with him. I made alter egos right there. I made alter egos to fit his. Well, there's Victor and this weird Sir Black. They're the same thing. They're the same persona, the same, right? So what about Ruby, Candy, Kitty? Who did they match with? What are you talking about? Lie.
Little Kitty was kind of a little girl. I kind of based her looks off of anime cartoons.
You said it was based on his
personality.
And which one did that one go with?
That went with his little boy personality.
Why's little boy? Did you guys see the little boy personality in any of those videos? What's the little boy's name, Gypsy? Liar. Come on. The little boy personality. That went with the little boy personality, Dr. Phil. Come on. With that went, and who do you go with? More that guy that's more sexual. I mean, come on. Why Dr. Phil? Come on, dude. Come on. Obviously, she's lying here. It's not even a good lie. It's funny lies.
And what about Ruby?
Ruby was for Victor.
Oh,
Ruby was for the vampire.
Okay.
So Ruby was evil.
Ruby was a werewolf, and she was the evil one.
Okay.
So that goes on for.
By the way, as most of you know, Ruby was for Victor, right? Victor was the guy that supposedly killed her mother, the persona, right? And Ruby, when did we first see Ruby? 2 weeks before the murder. There was no Ruby. There was no Ruby persona until 2 weeks before the murder. And what did she call Ruby? The evil one, my most evil side. And what did she tell Nick when Ruby comes alive
manifest 2 weeks before the murder. She tells Nick, I need you to make a character. I need you to match Ruby's evil. I need you to have your character match Ruby's evil. Why? Because she needed him to murder her mom. So look, talk about premeditation. Talk about manipulating this autistic guy. Coming up with this Ruby character. Yeah, really. Why do you say that, baby? Okay. I'm going to stop this here because I want to show another clip. She's saying, remember, he's autistic. Okay. And she's saying, I'm 1,000 or 100,000% in, hun. I'm truly ready. And he doesn't know what she's talking about. Why do you say that? He doesn't know. We'll get more into that later. But the way they portrayed him is like he's the one planning it, and he's the one that wanted to murder. He had this penchant for murdering and raping people. And yeah, no. Okay. I want to show you a Gypsy's version of some of these events from her interview from a couple weeks ago. Again,
Was it your throat that was going to be?
It was going to be like biopsied, explored, and they were going to, have to do more things to my throat, but on my voice box this time.
Okay, so you were, so if you can take me to that, because it seems like that was an important moment for you.
Yes, like it was a moment where I was like, I already had throat surgery already, and it was a rough surgery, and so the thought of going through another procedure, that I'm like, well, this time you're gonna start messing with my voice. And that's terrifying. I felt like, how much more are you going to take from me?
And so June 10th, 2015, if you can take me to that day or even the preceding day and walk me through it step by step, what you were thinking, what was going on for you.
So I knew that was the day. I had been texting with Nick. He said, you might want to start saying your goodbyes. And so I just remember my mom and I said, we're going to paint our nails, we're going to watch a movie. And I wanted to make it a good night. Like, I wanted to make it a night that I felt like I would remember her for the good. So she cooked dinner, she ate her dinner, I painted her nails, she painted my nails, picked out a movie, and laid down. She took a little longer to fall asleep, and then I fell asleep. Then I woke up shortly, like 5 minutes after she fell asleep. And I texted him that she fell asleep. And I said, the gloves are on the porch. And he's like, okay, I'm taking a cab over. And he didn't knock on the door. He texted me, he's like, I'm here. So I get up out of bed and I walk over, open the door. First thing he said when he comes to.
Okay, I want you guys to notice something here. It's just a little thing, two things. Of course, the whole cutting throat story, you guys know that. That's her latest thing in some interviews, but we're going to go and show you what she told Dr. Phil. Right? Years before. When she's talking about her mother here, we watched a movie. We said our good nights, okay? And then at some point, she's going to almost disassociate herself. She's going to drop the we's and the she's. I'll show you.
Like, I wanted to make it a night that I felt like I would remember her for the good. So she cooked dinner, she ate her dinner, I painted her nails, she painted my nails, picked out a movie.
It's not we picked out a movie. It's not she picked out a movie. It's not I picked out a movie. She's dropped the pronouns now. Okay. So watch. It's a little interesting when they do this.
And laid down. She took a little longer to fall asleep.
Then
I fell asleep. Then I woke up shortly, like 5 minutes after she fell asleep. And I texted him that she fell asleep. And texting with Nick, he said, you might want to start saying your goodbyes.
So some people think, I don't know. I mean, it's just a theory that she primarily dropped the pronouns when she said she went to go lay down with her. I don't believe she ever went and laid down with her. I don't believe that's a memory. Okay. I don't know what to make of that. It's just the way she like drops the we, she, he, I. It's what some people like detectives believe. They look for that, the dropping of the pronouns. So I don't know if there's anything to that, but I thought I would just mention it just to you guys because it's kind of interesting, because I know a lot of people, even detectives that worked on this case, that do believe that she at least went in that bedroom, that her story of that night, that there's some issues with it. No, I don't believe Dee Dee was dead when Nick got there. I'm not one of those, but I do believe there's some parts of that night that she still isn't fully telling us, nor that Nick has fully told yet. So I don't know what it is, but this whole, I laid down with why would you you're going to murder your mom? Your heart's got to be, you're not laying down and I fell asleep for 5 minutes. What are you talking about? And that whole thing just seems weird. I just wanted, but that clip is not primarily for that. It's for the throat cutting thing. Okay. Because this is why she claims in her memoir and now in this interview. And of course, that guy interviewing her was just going by her memoir. So he brings up the throat cutting, right? She doesn't bring it up. He goes, okay, so then your mom's going to do this surgery on you where she cuts your throat, right? It's from the memoir. Of course, most of you know that never happened, that appointment on May 1st, 2015 was canceled. There was no surgery scheduled. She was supposed to go for a visit to an ear, nose, and throat doctor for congenital muscular dystrophy with possible vocal cord dysfunction syndrome. So she was just going to go. It was a pre-clinic appointment, meaning she had never seen this doctor. He was going to examine her. That was it. But she didn't even make it to that. So this whole story, of course, as we proved here on this YouTube channel, we were the ones to break that never happened. Okay. But I want to go back to now what she told Dr. Phil about that night. Does she talk about the throat surgery? What happened? What's the impetus for why her mom had to be murdered? Okay, so I'm going to go back. I have to find it, so give me a minute because it's here somewhere.
You say, because I finally allowed myself to accept you're my everything. I will go with you and live our dream. Door, and the screen door is squeaky. So try to open it just enough to get in. He is brave. I respect.
Please. And I said, Victor, will you please? And she's like, there's nothing I can do about it. My mother and I had got into an argument 2 days before.
So here he asked her, why did this happen? What happened? Why did you decide to kill your mother? Tell me about that. And she said, my mother and I got into an argument 2 days before. Okay.
And it was about my feeding tube. I'm like, I no longer need this feeding tube. Can we please have it removed? And she said, no.
I no longer need my feeding tube. Now, I want to tell you guys something. I'm not saying this is why she killed her mother, because it's not. It has nothing to do with medical stuff. But she was focused on her feeding tube right before the murder. Why? She was worried. She was trying to get pregnant, and she thought that the feeding tube would hinder the pregnancy in some ways. And so she was asking Nick, hey, does Big Ben have a hospital? That's the other reason she went and went to the ER with her mom. Remember the last time we see Dee Dee's pushing Gypsy in the wheelchair. They're going up to the ER to do what? To change her feeding tube, right? Okay. Where's the throat surgery? And what happened to the feeding tube story?
And I had an upcoming surgery, and I didn't want to have it, so I asked her, please tell the doctor I don't need this surgery. I've had it 20 times before. Why do we?
I've had this surgery 20 times before. Obviously, that's not a throat surgery. What would she have had 20 times before? The changing of the feeding tube? Possibly. It's not a surgery, but this has nothing to do with her throat. This is just a story because we know she didn't murder her mother over anything medical that was happening to her. Had nothing to do with it. Even Rod knows it. Even Rod says it. Rod knew it. Do you blame him, though? He wants his daughter to get out of prison. I'm not going to tell. He's going to side with his daughter. He's going to cover up for her. Yeah, that's what families do. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying, don't be surprised how these people cover for her.
To have it again. And she's like, there's nothing I can do about it. The doctor wants it. And so I became very numb to plan B. And I talked to Nick. He had me talk to Victor, who initially was the one that was going to do the murder. And he was like, ask Victor, please. And I said, Victor, will you please come kill my mother for me? Because I can't do it myself.
Was this on the phone or was this over text?
This was over the computer.
Okay, so you're emailing back and forth, texting.
I've never seen that. Now, look, there's a possibility we don't have we don't have everything, right? But she said it was over, is it text? I mean, you would think. So I mean, obviously she told him to do it. Obviously they had conversations about it, but it's not in any records, which is weird when you start really thinking about it with all the records that we have, all the Facebook records, all the, Skype, all the Google searches, all the things that we have. We do know she was planning it. The Google searches get really wild right before, right? Looking up Charles Manson, looking up Natalie Holloway, because Natalie Holloway went missing and thought she was going to go missing, this whole thing. I mean, the Manson stuff is wild though. And like she talks about, she likes Charles Manson. It's a little wild.
Messaging, whatever.
Yes, sir.
You say, we're going to do this. We're not ever going to bring it up again. Then at 9:08 p.m. on the 10th, you say, she's taking her sleep aid. Okay, baby, I'm calculating the money for the ride. You say, once you're inside the house, we stay silent, not even a whisper until after I open that bathroom door. And he says, never underestimate his will to kill.
Victor said that he had conditions. One condition would be with a knife. The other condition is he would have to rape her after he murdered her. And I told him, absolutely not. I am not okay with that. And he said, it's either Victor's way or the highway. Like, Victor won't do it if you don't agree.
I don't find that anywhere either. Okay, so hold on.
My terms. So I said, fine, use the knife, but you are not raping her. He's like, well, fine, I'll make you a deal. It's either rape her or rape you after. And I said, rape me because I won't let you do it to her.
Now, I've told you guys that Nick had rape fantasies, okay? But the way they did this at Nick's trial, by the way. They did this at Nick's trial. The way they build up to the act of him doing it, they cherry picked what text messages they wanted the jury to see, right? And so you would find, it's my evil side doing it. He loves to kill or something. Well, I decided for our purposes here that I would show you just a few of the text messages in order leading up, and it's going to paint such a different picture of what was really going on. There's not very many of them. It's not going to take us that long, and I've got them all prepared. But I thought just because the way they really painted him, and look, I don't think Nick should get out of prison, okay? But look, I don't agree with the way that guy in that interview a couple weeks ago doesn't even mention that he was autistic. They don't even discuss it. And she keeps hammering on this rape issue with Nick, right? Okay. So this is from that night. This would be 7 a.m. the morning before. So it's June 9th, 7 a.m. Okay. Nick says, I already talked to her, dear. He's talking about his mother. His mother, Stephanie, was looking for him at the time. Okay. Is what happens right before these texts. And Nick texts, I already talked to her, dear. Everything is fine. You need to answer my questions though, honey. And then Gypsy says, I will text you. We are doing this tonight, hon. We are doing this tonight. It won't be until later, like in the AM times. So get your rest, darling. And then he says, honey, you know I always bring my computer. And then Gypsy says, okay, good, hon. I just told your mom you're perfectly fine. His mother was texting Gypsy over. She knew something was wrong. His mother, Stephanie, was texting Gypsy. And here Gypsy tells Nick, oh, I just told your mom you're perfectly fine. Ugh. Then Gypsy says, talking about her own mother, this is at 7:30 a.m. now. She sleeps on her tummy, like I said, but light sleeper, hun. And then Gypsy says, then after that at 7:31, so after, you got to listen, the timing is important. Right after Gypsy tells him she sleeps on her tummy, like I said, but sleep lighter, light sleeper, hun. Right away, she texts him, the shit's gonna go down tonight, Ruby said. Now, what's my point? My point is she's telling him, guess what? You're going to murder my mom tonight. She says it's on tonight. And she sleeps on her tummy, but she's a light sleeper. And immediately after she gives him that information, she says, the shit's going to go down tonight, Ruby said. And what does Nick say to that? What does she mean by that, dear? He is autistic. He doesn't even know what that means. He doesn't understand. The social cues are lacking, right? I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm saying he's autistic and he doesn't get these certain sayings, the certain tone. He's not reading. He doesn't get the social cues. Okay. So when Ruby says the shit's going to go down tonight, Nick says, what do you mean? What do you mean? I don't understand. Right. And then he says, now he's getting anxious. Then he says to her, please let me know as soon as you can, hun. He's anxious. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Ruby says the shit's going to go down tonight. What does that mean? Please tell me as soon as you can, hun. And then what happens? Gypsy says, it means it all happens tonight. And then he says, how does Ruby feel about it? Now, what does he mean by this? Okay, again, he's autistic. He takes all his social cues from Gypsy. He is searching for Gypsy to tell him what it means and how does she feel, because he wants to mirror how she feels. How does she feel? And Gypsy says, she keeps me numb. Ruby keeps me numb in order to cope and survive, hun. And then he says, okay, dear, I guess she seems to be learning how to deal with him slowly then. And then Gypsy says, listen to this. Then Gypsy says, now we're at 7:41 a.m. Gypsy says, for motivation's sake, bring your A game, hon. This is life with me on the line. For motivation's sake, bring your A game. And he says after that, okay, wait, hold on. 7:41. Yeah. And then at 7:42, yes, hon, each part is a slow learner and maybe not Candy, because Candy's supposed to be her slutty side, right? And then he says, babe, now he's mirroring her. Ruby, she's brought up Ruby and how Ruby feels about it. Ruby says the shit's going down tonight, right? And in that context, 2 minutes later, right away later, right? This isn't, he says these words that crucified him at his trial. Babe, it's my evil side doing it. He won't mess up because he enjoys killing. I want you guys to remember what the topic was here. The topic was Ruby. Who was Ruby? We just saw it was her evil side. When did Ruby pop up? 2 weeks before the murder. It was her most evil side. And so when he says that, remember, babe, it's my evil side doing it. Do you get it now? It matters. And they never explain any of that to the jury. Ruby was invented for victors to become evil. And so when she mentions Ruby, Ruby says the shit's going down tonight. And he says, well, what does that mean? I don't understand. Tell me quickly. Tell me. He gets anxious. And then she says, oh, it's all going to happen tonight, right? Ruby's the evil one. And then he mirrors it. Well, don't worry, babe. It's my evil side. Because he's mad because she's brought up Ruby. Yeah. But you don't hear that in the documentaries. All you hear is that guy was evil. He wanted to rape her and he wanted to murder her and he wanted to do that. And he was evil and he was a 500-year-old vampire. And again, I'm not making excuses for Nick, but context matters. And yeah, if it's your job as the prosecutor, if I'm hired as the prosecutor, do you think I'm going to give that context to the jury? Hell no, I'm not. Not if it's my job as a prosecutor. You understand what I'm saying? No, I'm not. I'm going to cherry pick which ones you guys see. And that's what they did. And that really did him in. That because the jury was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess he's autistic, but oh, he's pretty bad. He likes murdering. He likes raping. That wasn't it at all. He liked Ruby. He loved Gypsy. He was obsessed with Gypsy. And he wanted to please her. And he wanted to be with her. He still feels, I'm to this day, I'm sure. I mean, even years later in interviews, he still goes on about Gypsy. Right? All right, guys, where are we at? Let's get to some more of your comments before I let you go on this Friday night. I hope you enjoyed this. I do have some more to go over, but we do another live stream. If you guys like this kind of a live stream, definitely. I am doing work kind of in this area for a different project. So that's why I'm doing this. I hope you guys understand. And let me get to some of your comments. All right. Where are we at? Oh, Evil Ghost. Member for 3 months. Late like always. Hope all is well. Evil Ghost. Thank you so much for being a member for 3 months. I don't know if you guys know who Evil Ghost is. He's got a channel. Google him. Look him up. He is starting to do, I think, Ryan content. If you guys like a little Ryan funny stuff about Ryan, I guess is what he does. But I appreciate that, Evil Ghost. Thank you so much. Next up, we got Snowflakes and Firefly, 819, a pound, 99 pence. Who else wants to see Dr. Phil in one of Gypsy's wigs? Yes. Thank you. It would be good, Snowflakes and Firefly. Thank you. All right, let's get a couple more comments. Ronnie Crystal, 319, became a YouTube member. Welcome to the Truth Train, Ronnie Crystal. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that so much. Let's see. We got one more. Kathy H, 1874, also became a YouTube member. Welcome aboard, Kathy. I'm so glad that you're here. I really appreciate that. Becoming a new member. I hope you like our community. I like our community. This is the best chat, I think, in this niche. To me, it's always lively. It's always intellectual. And if you are a part of this community, you're in this chat. I know that. Yeah. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it, unless anyone else has any more comments they would like to make or any statements. But I think Whew, that was almost 2.5 hours for me. That was a lot. Thank you so much for the gift, Anne. Appreciate that. Really do. Okay. Oh, I forgot to put your comments back up, you guys. I'm so stupid. Damn it. Oh, we do have some more. Hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry. Okay. There. Okay. Sorry. I forgot to put your. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Again, I forgot. It's hard to remember everything, you know? It's hard to remember everything. All right, guys. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that if there's anything else I wanted to say. Oh, I wanted to show you one thing though. Yeah. Hold on. So, Gypsy's YouTube channel, for her podcast, I thought it was interesting. I went over there and looked at it, the description. Welcome to the official home of my upcoming podcast. Here, I'll be interviewing a diverse range of guests and exploring the stories, experiences, and conversations that often go unheard. Subscribe now and join me as this platform grows. Well, she was supposed to post a series of 4 videos, right? And we've only gotten 1. I don't know what's going on. Where are the other videos? You're not supposed to promise things. As a content creator, you're not supposed to promise things to your subscribers or your followers and not follow through, or at least come back and tell them what's going on. I haven't heard anything, but then I'm not subscribed to that channel, but still. Inquiring minds want to know what's going on, right? Yeah. All right. I'm so tired. I think we're gonna end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank all of my mods: Anne Fran, Christy, Susan Ryan, Mersey me, and SB. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys keep the truth train rolling. And I love you guys. And for everyone that's been here on this live stream, thank you so much. It means so much that you guys join me. I mean, I'm always shocked that I get more than 3 people to show up for a live stream. But I do really appreciate it. And we'll be going live. Since it's summer, I might be able to go live a little bit more often during the week. So keep your notifications on. And of course, I'll have other videos in between. So that's going to do it for me. Keekins isn't here, so sorry about that, but good night, guys. Becca Scoops out.